Hey folks, John from Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. Now today is a little different than my standard format. I'm actually going to be starting a new series for you. I get a lot of requests from people that want to know how to do basic computer tasks that seem complicated, but in reality are not all that difficult once you actually get into them. So today's, on our very first inaugural series debut, I'm going to teach you how to properly punch a network cable or terminate a network end. Hold on tight and we'll be right back with you. Alright folks, welcome back. So, in order to properly teach you how to terminate cables, I'm going to need a few specific items. Those items are as follows. Alright, the first thing we're going to need, now this is actually an optional item. Now this is a wire stripper. You can get any kind of wire stripper that you want to. Heck, you can even use a pocket knife if you want to, but a wire stripper does make the job a whole lot easier for stripping off the end of the Cat5 cabling, just to make your connections nice and clean. That's the first thing you're going to need. Now this is a crimping tool. Now any crimping tool will actually do. I am actually kind of a stickler for decent brands, and I'll tell you, you will save yourself days and days and days of headaches dealing with network problems if you just spend the money to get a good crimping tool. That's one very, very important part. The next thing you're going to need, of course, are some Cat5 terminations. Now these are RJ45 and they are designed for Cat5. Now there are a lot of different cables. We'll come back to that in just a second. Now I've got a few of these. We should only need one for what we're doing today. And the very last thing that you're going to need is some form of cable tester. Now, this cable tester is actually good. This is one of the inexpensive ones. You can actually pick these up online from Amazon or eBay, anywhere from $5 for the cheapest ones up to as much as you want to spend for testing and continuity testers. So they're not that expensive. This one in particular allows you to plug a cable in on this end and then plug it right back in on this end so that you can test to see that all four of your pairs are good. Also, if you're testing an actual run, you can actually plug in a jack to this one, pull this end off, take it to the other end of the run, plug it in there using another patch cable, and test the entire run. So these are really good testers to have. I highly suggest that you get one if you don't have one. And of course, the last thing we're going to need for our current test is a piece of Cat5 cabling. Now, this is standard Cat5e cable. It is now for those of you who don't know or know a little bit about Cat5, what we've got in here is 4 twisted pairs, 4 separate colors. And those colors go in a very specific order for the standard network punches, or for crossover cables if you need to connect directly from computer to computer, although most modern day computers do support straight through cabling now, or for connecting routers to switches or to switch to a switch. So there are a couple things you can do differently. So we'll get into that separately. Now, the Cat5 cabling, this is what you're going to find in most networking instances. You're going to also find different kinds of cabling out there. There's Cat6 cabling, which is considerably much thicker, and it's actually got a T-cross of plastic in it separating each one of the pairs. They give you a lot more distance. The cabling is a lot more expensive, and it's very, very stiff and tough to work with, and you have to use different RJ45 ends for Cat6. So for this particular scenario, we're going to go with Cat5 on this. Okay folks, so here's what we've got. Now this piece of Cat5, I've cheated a little bit and terminated this end, so you'll get to see why here in just a second. On this end, what we're going to do is we're going to use our cable strippers, and we're going to strip off about 1.5 to 2 inches of the cable. Alright, just like that. Now you see why these are so handy, because you can actually pull that off and all your cables right there for you. Now, this is where it gets very specific. Inside the Cat5 cabling, you've got 4 pairs of wires. You've got orange, green, blue, and brown. Now, I'm not sure if the camera's picking those up real clearly. I'll check that here shortly. But you need to make sure that you get these in a very specific order, or your network will function at best poorly and most likely not at all. Alright, so we're going to start with our orange pair. Now, the order that you do these cabling is, like I said, very critical. It will always be light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Now you'll notice that there is an orange cable that's solid and an orange that's white with an orange stripe down it. So that is your light cable. So We're going to go light, dark on orange, all right? Now here's where the tricky part comes in. The next one is going to be a light green, all right? So you want to untwist them and go light green, all right? So just to go ahead and say again, light orange, light green. Now, instead of, you think now the green would come along, but it doesn't. Now you're going to go to the blue lines. All right, and you want to go dark blue and light blue. So once again, you're going to go light orange, light green, dark blue, light blue. Now you go dark green. All right, and then the last two are going to be the browns. So light brown and then dark brown. All right, now you'll notice the way I'm holding this and how these are actually staying in perfect order. This is how you want to do it. It's a lot easier than it looks. So when you actually do this yourself, you're going to see that these cables do tend to stay right in order when you hold them there. And you'll also notice I'm holding about 1/2 inch under my thumb. Now that becomes very important later. We'll get to that shortly. So before you actually want to cut this wire down for your terminations, you want to verify light orange, light green, dark blue, dark green, light brown, dark brown. I cannot emphasize this enough. Verify, verify, verify every step. You'll save yourself a lot of time in the end having to redo punches if you verify. So, all right, once you've got that, you're going to take your crimping tool. Now your crimping tool on one side will actually have cutters, as you can see, that go down to a flat surface. This allows you to get a flat cut on it. All right, you're going to insert your cables and you're going to cut them. All right, now, as you can see, it's cut up about 1/8 inch above my thumb. All right? Now, this is the key. Your light orange is on the left. So, when you use your RJ45 connection, you want it upside down. You want the little connection prong down. Okay? You want to insert the cables. Now, if you get these in here correctly, they should slide right into place. Okay? So as you can see, they slid right in. Now, this camera will probably not pick this up, but as you can see, hopefully you can see, this cable is slid all the way up in and all the way to the front, and it's on all of the cables. You can see it from the front, you can see it from the sides, okay? So, before you crimp the cable, once again, look at it. Verify your cable coloring. This is important, very important. So, verifying the cable coloring, light orange, light green, dark blue, dark green, light blue, or excuse me, light brown, dark brown. So, this is now correct. We know the cables are in place and they are pushed all the way up in. Now we're going to take our crimpers. You'll notice on your crimpers, on one side you've got the little teeth, that's going to mesh up with these. And on the other side, you've got this little punch which meshes up with this little plastic piece that actually puts pressure on the cable and holds it in place. That too becomes important at a later point in time. We'll get to that shortly. So we're going to place the cable in, just like you were plugging it into a network jack, all the way up in, as you can see, and then we're going to crimp it down. Now you will know when you've got this in place all the way, the crimp is actually pretty smooth. You can feel the teeth grabbing. See? How you can see that go in? And then push it back through, and you can verify you've got a nice solid connection there. All right? So we verified all of our pins are down. You can actually physically see that all of these have been seated down now and are pressing up into the wires the way they should. Now, these wires, if you actually look at an RJ45 connection, this is not one wire you're pushing down into it, it's two. It's like vampire teeth. So they actually have two wires that push down into the wire to pin into it to give you good connection. That also becomes important, and we'll discuss that shortly. Now, once you've got your cable terminated, or in this particular case, your patch cable terminated, you always want to test this. Never trust, no matter how good you are, that your cabling is perfect. Always verify. So, we're going to take our cable tester. We're going to put our cable tester into one end. On the other end, it's going to go onto the other end of the cable tester. Now, we're going to press the test button. When we push this test button, all the lights will blink, and then these 4 green lights should light up solid green. That's what we want. So here we go. Now, if you'll notice, they did not light up solid green. Why is that? It's telling you that pins 1 and 2, 3 and 4, or excuse me, 3 and 6, 4 and 5 are not making a connection. Now typically you can verify why that's the case. Yes, for those wondering, this was done intentionally. So we're going to pull this out and we're going to verify why 4 and 6 did not make a connection. And you can actually visually inspect to see where the connection went wrong. Okay, folks, we're back with you. Now, this is a lesson for you. If you'll notice, when I crimped it earlier, I pushed it down slowly, then stopped. And I stopped in order to show you where the teeth were, how far up it was, and the tension level. Now, when I did that, I did not completely crimp it all the way down. I did this so that I could show you exactly what would happen if you didn't get a full crimp. And a full crimp is all the way to the base, okay? All right. Now, we've got our cable. I have re-crimped that end, and we're going to rerun our test real quick. And now, as you can see, solid green across the board. All pins are showing green, nothing missing, nothing shorted. Now, on this particular test, this will actually tell you, this tester will anyway, if you have a short, like a cable that's grounding out somewhere, if you've got a miswire, like if you've got a cable wired through incorrectly, it'll tell you if it's miswired. If you've got wires reversed, say you should have your oranges reversed or your blues reversed, it'll tell you if it's reversed. These are really, really cool. It comes in handy when you're trying to diagnose particularly patch cables, and a lot of them, because it'll tell you specifically what the problem is and it makes it easy to repair. Now, as I showed you earlier, I wanted to give you an example of what some bad punches look like. So I went ahead and punched a couple of bad punches. Now, these can be a problem for a couple of reasons, and I want to kind of show you each one of these individually to give you an idea of exactly what you're dealing with. So, we'll start with this one. Now, this is the most common mistake I see when punching network cabling, all right? As you can see, the end was put all the way in, but there's too much gap back here, and nothing is grabbing on inside of the connection. Now, what that means is every time you insert or pull out this cable, this wire is going to be stressed. Eventually, you're going to, at best, have intermittent connectivity, and most probably lose complete connectivity and have a faulty patch wire at some point in the future. This is one of the things that's tough to diagnose on a network because you actually have to locate where the problem is. But you definitely do not want wires hanging out of the end like that. That's one of the bad ones. The other bad one is the exact opposite problem. Now, if you look at this, the yellow cable is actually up in there, but they're so short on the leads that they are barely making contact with the first pin on the RJ45. Now, this is a problem for a lot of reasons. Number one, this is a tough one to identify just by eye. You can look at it and it kind of looks right until you get into the side of it and realize the problem is a physical issue with connection inside of it. You may have, this may work forever, but it may have intermittent connectivity. Somebody bumps it, you lose connectivity with one of the pins, you lose the item off the network, whatever the device it is. So this is another one you want to be very careful of, that your cabling is not too short and only making connection with one pin, not pushed all the way up in there. So this is another no-no. So no-no, this is definitely a no-no, and this is the way they should look. Now if you look at these, you'll see the pins are all the way up, all the way across, both sides, and you've got the yellow pinned down underneath it. This is a good connection, solid, and should last for many, many years. So, all right, so what we learned. Whenever you're doing networking, connection is everything. You have got to have solid connectivity. You must make sure that the wires are not loose, they're not dangling, they're not pullable, because people will fiddle with these. We all know how that works. Proper tools are essential. You can make all of your own punches with cheap tools that you buy at Harbor Freight or wherever, but at the end of the day, get good tools. They will serve you for a long time. So thank you guys for joining me for my first broadcast of a do-it-yourself tutorial. I will be bringing more to you. I promise I'll be bringing many, many more of these to you guys in the future. If you have any specific requests for tutorials, throw them on down here. Otherwise, I will come up with them and bring them to you as I come up with the ideas. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.